All right, everyone, this courtesy of the like half a dozen people that actually sent me links to this story in the last like 12 hours. You open up Twitter or something, you go to your DMs, and everyone wants you to talk about something. It can be kind of compelling. CNN running a story about how witches are furious over the fact that Trump is using the term witch hunt to describe like the Mueller probe and stuff. I'm sitting there thinking to myself, that's funny. I haven't heard any of these people take to any platform to express outrage. No, it's just a handful of people that CNN decide to talk to. I wonder if these were cherry-picked at all. I wonder if they're even Wiccans. And there's really the funny part. It's like, what the fuck do you think the term witch even means? Do you think specifically a practitioner of Wicca? Statistically speaking, Wiccans tend to be more likely to be female and liberal than the average population. I can understand some of them might not like Trump. But that's the thing, it wouldn't matter if he was using this particular term. The only reason you care is because they happen to call themselves witches. What about the 90% of self-proclaimed witches that have nothing to do with that ideology, or the vast corpus of occultists that aren't even Wiccans? What about all the pagans that you constantly try to call like Nazi-friendly or something? Oh my god, the problem of Nazis within paganism. Okay, specifically certain groups within certain types of paganism have that proclivity, maybe. Well, he was talking about, oh, this Zoroastrian over here. Yes, definitely a total fucking skinhead. Absolutely. Makes perfect sense to me. You'd probably go into a Buddhist temple and you'd see like a swastika on Buddha's head or something. Be, oh my god, it's like a Nazi cult. Oh my god, Ganesha has a swastika on his hand. It must be, it's evidence that all the people in the Hinduism are Nazis. That picture of the Hitler ice cream place probably doesn't help against that argument much, but maybe some cultures are less given over to the PC censorious bullshit than in the West. No, the term witch hunt is not offensive. I'll tell you this. It makes sense to use the term. What does the witch hunt actually invoke? Like the imagery of the witch hunt, what does it represent? It represents someone being wrongfully persecuted by some power structure to an excessive and insane degree. Trump feels that basically describes the Mueller probe. Now, I do look at it and I say, well, after a couple of years and no indictment of Trump or really truly anyone directly within his inner circle, it does appear that way. It looks more like persecution than it does a legitimate actual investigation. I've said for a number of, actually almost a year now, that it's basically devolved into the Manafort probe. The term does not have anything to do with your Wiccan religion. It has to do with witches in the historical sense. Now, what do we know about people during the witch hunts? Were they practicing Wicca? Did they know who Gardner was? Did they know anything about Crowley? No. They were not even occultists. There were two groups of people. Those that were persecuted for often socio-political reasons, basically the magistrate didn't like them or whatever, and people who had like either medical conditions or were engaged in medical lore. If you've read any of the literature from that time period, you'd know the healing arts back then, basically it's kind of similar to like hedge Wicca now, only minus the Wicca. It's just a bunch of hedges, growing herbs, midwife sort of activities, anything to do with healing, simple folk incantations. By the way, these were common, including among totally Christian individuals who never practiced witchcraft, but they didn't have a problem with some simple folk incantation to heal a hangnail. No, they thought it was totally normal. The church looked the other way, didn't give a fuck. It's just that certain groups of people were so puritanical, they were so hyper-religious, that they thought that was terrible heresy and stuff. And it doesn't help because, you've got the servant from the Caribbean or something knows all sorts of cool spells, and you're sitting there and you think that the only thing you're allowed to do if you're sick is pray to Jesus. So that's ultimately what it's about. It has nothing to do with Wicca. It had nothing to do with real witchcraft anyway. That's the whole point. That's why it was a witch hunt. Because there weren't any witches to actually hunt after for the most part. Any occultists that they killed, it was on accident. Oh yeah, I did this little charm with with a penny and a screw or something like that. Yeah, well, that's not exactly the most authentic occultism you can get, but it passed for it if you wanted to persecute someone. Then again, back then, a person could have a mole on the wrong part of their body, and you could end up getting persecuted for it. My username. What do you think the Hexenhammer part is from? It's the German word for the Malleus Maleficarum, the witch's hammer, the premier guide to persecuting especially female individuals at the time. Of course, the witch-finder generals had to strip them naked and search them top to bottom for many, many hours before they could determine whether they were a witch or not. I wonder if certain skills employed could get them to say, nah, not actually a witch, sorry about that, it's a false positive. Oh, you better believe that in the dark, lonely cell, I'm sure stuff's happened that would make your toes curl. And probably a bunch of fucking perverts, since they were all hyper-religious at the time. No, the term witch hunt is not offensive. That's bullshit. That's politically correct bullshit. These people know that it's bullshit. CNN probably knows it's bullshit too, but they're fake news, so you know they're not going to admit that to their jaded audience. By the way, their shrinking audience. It was funny, MSNBC just overtook Fox for the first time, like the other day. The new ratings came out, they were slightly ahead, and it's like, yeah, of course. They're the biggest fish in a shrinking pond. Wonderful. We're over here, our pond is still getting bigger and bigger. That's why they're pissed off at the legacy media. Did you see the Gateway Pundit just got blocked by Google News from being part of their aggregate? Meanwhile, it's funny because they're all talking about, oh, freedom of the press is going to be the theme of the New Year's celebration. Let's block the Gateway Pundit. Let's ban every alt-media commentator because, you know, they made a joke years ago or something. Oh my god, attacks on the press take the form of mean tweets. Yeah, that's bullshit too. Literally, like, this is the most fake, stupid, human interest bullshit I've ever seen in my life. I say this as someone who practices literal witchcraft after a fashion. I'm an occultist and a pagan. I believe in some of these spiritual forces. I bet there are a hell of a lot of social justice warrior witches, so-called, that don't even do that. They're like, yeah, I'm a Wiccan. Oh, what do you believe in? Oh, no, I'm just a Wiccan. That's how like 90% of so-called religious people are anyway, a bunch of hypocrites. That's about all. Peace out.